Georgia Pacific, responding to the issues that affect our land, our air, presents Continuing the Commitment, Georgia Pacific and the Environment.
Every year, Americans discard almost 180 million tons of trash, more than 1,400 pounds for every man, woman, and child in the United States. Some cities dispose of their trash, called municipal solid waste, by burying it in landfills. But our aging landfills are filling up. There were 14,000 in 1978. Today, 5,500 sites struggle to handle roughly 80% of America's municipal solid waste. Some cities burn their waste, often using the energy produced from incineration to generate electricity. But city governments are finding it difficult to locate sites to build new landfills and incinerators, opposed by citizens not wanting them near their neighborhoods. Food, metal, paper, plastic. Even the clippings from our parks and yards. Just a few years ago, disposing of these waste materials and many others was considered only an inconvenience. As we face this environmental concern, there is some good news. More and more Americans are buying and using products made of materials once considered waste and formerly destined for landfills. Books and magazines printed on paper with recycled content. Furniture and other products for the home and office made of reprocessed fibers. Building materials. Gardening products. And hundreds of other useful and the commitment of a company with a long history of environmental stewardship. We're Georgia Pacific, one of the largest forest products companies in the world. We grow trees, border to border, coast to coast. We make paper. Paper to package products. Paper to help us communicate. Paper to make living easier. We make building products. Lumber, plywood, shingles to build, remodel. And in hundreds of locations across the United States, our 60,000 employees are committed to making a real difference in the solid waste problem. Georgia Pacific was founded in 1927 and has a history of making quality products efficiently and selling them at a fair price. Georgia Pacific has grown on this principle for well over a half-century. Today, minimizing waste at its source means less waste to manage later. At this modern Georgia Pacific plant in Florida, nearly all of the tree is used as it is manufactured into plywood. Bark, which is not used in the plywood making process. At some Georgia Pacific locations, bark is burned in the plant's boiler. At this facility, sawdust, sander dust, and ply trim provide the fuel for a constant, low-cost source of energy. As logs are peeled into pine veneer and transformed into familiar 4x8-foot plywood panels, the green veneer that cannot be used in the plywood process is chipped and trucked to another GP operation to be made into paper. Finally, cores, log centers not suitable for plywood production, are often sold as landscape timbers. At other Georgia Pacific plants, there is no need to ship waste. At our Russellville, South Carolina plywood plant, cores are sent less than half a mile away to be converted into landscape timbers and dimensional lumber. But the cycle is far from complete. Planer shavings, waste created as the cores are shaped into lumber, are blown out of the mill and into a storage area to be used at a GP Wood Products plant less than 200 yards away. These shavings, combined with the waste shavings of other mills, are compressed and glued to make particle board, an important wood product for furniture makers and builders. In dozens of other GP building products plants across the United States, our business and environmental missions meld. Efficiently, wisely, naturally. Americans have become genuinely concerned about the environment, and many people are acting on their concerns. For many, recycling, especially recycling paper products, has evolved from almost a fad into a daily routine. Georgia-Pacific employees recycle at home and the office. Our Atlanta headquarters workers participate in Operation Renew, turning office paper and aluminum cans into cash for local charities. But GP's most important contribution to helping solve the solid waste problem is not how we consume paper, it's how we make paper. Georgia-Pacific is one of the largest paper manufacturers in the world. Every year we use enormous amounts of recycled paper in our products. In 1990, we recovered over 1 million tons of paper from the solid waste stream, saving over 8 million cubic yards of landfill. Enough to fill this 60,000-seat stadium to the top 254 times. Georgia-Pacific uses innovative ways to minimize waste in its paper manufacturing and converting operations. Our 17 mail-well envelope plants produce more than 15 billion envelopes a year. Trims from manufacturing are sold for recycling to domestic and international brokers. Georgia-Pacific in turn buys waste from other sources. At our paper mill in Monticello, Mississippi, shipments of baled old corrugated containers arrive at the rate of 450 tons a day. These recycled fibers, 164,000 tons a year, are mixed with pulp made from wood chips to produce linerboard, a universal construction material for corrugated containers. Some GP recycled papers are not as easily recognized. These attractive, long-lasting shingles are constructed on a paper base made of old corrugated containers, other recycled papers, and wood fibers. And the paper skin on this gypsum wallboard is 100% recycled, 100% Georgia-Pacific. The waste paper contained in America's landfills is defined as post-consumer waste. Paper used as part of daily living, then discarded. This GP mill in Kalamazoo, Michigan specializes in recycling paper that would also be landfilled, but is recovered before consumer use. This waste includes magazine overruns, returns, and printing mistakes, as well as newspapers, used computer bond, and bound books. Bright four-color magazine pages quickly become a soupy gray slurry as the ink is removed. The resulting pulp produces new paper, brands such as Rerun and Recom, with a recycled content of 50% or higher, including 10% post-consumer waste. Georgia-Pacific uses state-of-the-art equipment to develop new ways to produce quality paper with ever higher percentages of recycled fibers. Our latest research has produced a recycled photocopy paper made of 50% recycled fiber, including 10% post-consumer waste. This paper offers all of the advantages of making quality, low-cost copies, while at the same time meeting growing consumer demands for recycled products. Another Georgia-Pacific recycled paper, Hopper Paper's Proterra, is finding use in brochures, annual reports, and letterhead. Half of Proterra's fibers are recycled and include 20% post-consumer waste. Despite this high waste content, Proterra meets the high standards demanded of premium materials. The solid waste problem is far from solved. The future, however, looks bright. More and more people are developing a new awareness of the issue and are changing the ways in which they buy and dispose of products. Georgia-Pacific and the paper industry have pledged to use even more recycled fibers in their products. But recycling isn't the only answer. The solution lies in a balanced approach with better understanding and cooperation between government and industry. Every American should be able to be part of the solution. We will continue to use fiber efficiently, use waste wisely, recycle, and grow it again.